David Crucifulli is the opposition leader of the LNP in Queensland, and we always give him a chance to tell us about what's really happening in Queensland, because the BS machine that is the Palaszczuk government needs to be held accountable. And he joins us now from Queensland. Great man, how was your summer?
Not too bad, Paul. Great to have you back, mate.
Very good. Fired up and ready to go. Plenty of lamb and all the rest of it, including the fatty bits as well. So let's talk about your health system, because despite the fact that, we've kept you safe and all of that business that they've gone on with, hospitals have remained a huge problem during the very significant period of time. 27 of the last 30 years the Labor Party has been in power in Queensland. So what are they doing at the surge of Omicron? They're throwing interns at the problem.
Paul, Queensland Health was in crisis before we'd even heard of coronavirus, and what the government's trying to do, along with everything in this state, including the integrity fire that we've got at the moment, is they want to blame everything on COVID. Well, the numbers don't suggest that. And some of the stories we've had in recent times, we had a young family this week, and it was so emotional to hear them. Their dad died waiting over an hour for an ambulance to turn up. He died. He had COVID. They were ringing, and the complications because of a broken system meant that man spent the last of his hours on the floor with his family, passing away. Now, that's not the fault of the AMBO. They're at the end of a ramp, stuck because the hospital system's broken. That's not the fault of the doctors or nurses. The fault has been culturally in Queensland Health. It's all been about centralising power, haven't been resourcing beds, haven't shared data. All of the suggestions we've been put forward, we've been mocked and derided by the government, who have said there hasn't been a problem. Well, Queenslanders are feeling it for themselves at the moment, and they've never felt more afraid because of a government that just can't plan properly.
Well, also, the reality of Queensland is that, I think that a lot of people's attitudes to coronavirus at the moment, frankly, is don't test, don't tell. But for those that actually need access to the system, it is already blocked on a whole bunch of other areas. So let's get to this disgraceful decision that, of course, gets pushed out in summer. Nobody's noticing. I did, you did, parents in Queensland did, that school doesn't go back for a whole 2 weeks after the rest of the country because, we've got to, of course, get on top of COVID. And then just to prove that the teachers' unions are the ones calling the shots, when they tried to extend the school year to compensate by 1 week, the teachers' union, absolutely says no. Here's what Queen Palaszczuk had to say about it.
Full school cohort does not go back until Monday the 7th of February. The Education Minister has COVID. We wish her a speedy recovery. So as soon as she is back on deck, the Education Minister and I will make that announcement. I think people can understand that I'd like the Education Minister to be here for that announcement.
Rightio. Like what? I run the show, but unless the right person's here to deliver the kind of bad news, I'm not going to deliver it. This is a disgrace. When parents in Queensland see that every other state can send kids back to school, all right, from the super dark numbers in New South Wales and Victoria to the Hermit Kingdom of Western Australia, why are Queensland families going to have to be juggling work and kids again for the third year?
But not only are the kids not at school, Paul, we don't have a plan as to how they're going to safely get back to school. And we've been repeatedly asking it. Now, for the Premier to say that she won't reveal a plan because she wants the Education Minister standing beside her, well, we all wish the Education Minister well in her recovery, but we also wish that the Premier gets on with governing. Imagine a business saying, look, I'm sorry, I'm not able to move those goods that I promised because Tomo, who drives the big rig beside us, he's crook at the moment, but we'll call you in a week. That's not how it works in the real world. And it defies belief that because a minister is away, a government becomes paralysed. That just doesn't make any sense. There was no consultation whatsoever. And you mentioned about the unions flexing their muscle. But the unions weren't even told. The unions found out about it at the daily press conference. The airline industry found out about reopening international travel at the daily press conference. The public hospitals found out about new rules, and the private hospitals about new rules about visiting at the daily press conference. Everything is about how things look in Queensland, not how they are. It's all stage managed. They've now got a team of 30 media officers. Every single message is perfectly manicured. But the problem is that the government has stopped governing. They've stopped listening. They've stopped thinking about what happens and what implications are for everyday people. Imagine a Premier thinking that it's more in her interest to have somebody standing beside her, the Education Minister, to make an announcement, rather than tell a whole heap of parents this is how we are safely going to keep your kids and your teachers back at school. And when they get to the classroom, to stay there. Imagine in somebody's world seeing the world so distorted. Welcome to Queensland in 2022.
Yeah, I love the idea that if, you had a gaping wound, but the Queensland government puts a Band-Aid over it and they say, but look how pretty the Band-Aid is. I mean, the Band-Aid looks magnificent. That's all message, all surface, and no surprise there. All the best this year, mate. Plenty more to rev up about. We'll do so throughout the year. David Crucifulli, appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Paul.